books in Yogacara.
Yeah.
So I do show and tell. No, actually, let me back up because I want to do announcements. Sunday is all day sit. Please come can you guys hear? Yeah, good. Okay, thanks. Please come. The world needs stable ground, needs affirmation of goodness and deep intention and non-separation. And if you can't come, then live it. Know that we're all doing it together. And so today at the end, if everybody can just pitch in and help Gretchen and Marilyn and everybody pack up and get things to Gretchen's car for Sunday. And the second one is that the Tassajara Sangha week is almost sold out. That's a joke. There's one more spot. Things change, so it's good to have a waiting list. But please let our registrar Sue. It's on the website, but please sign up and please come. It's a rare and precious thing to get to spend those days together at Tassajara. Okay, now I'll do show and tell. So Yogacara, we started on Tuesday. I'm going to do some repeating of what I did on Tuesday and then moving us forward, and I'll just keep doing that these next weeks. I was realizing as I was sitting that I was attracted to do Yogacara. Part of the reason is because it's part of the ground of Thich Nhat Hanh's teaching. I didn't realize how deeply so. It's really helping me understand his teachings and the way he frames the Dharma. Yogacara, the 30 verses, he was, as a young monk, had to memorize them. So it's built into their system. Vietnam is a particular in between. It's Southeast Asian and incorporates both Theravada and Mahayana. It's a particular kind of Buddhism. But Thich Nhat Hanh and then Ben Connolly has picked up Yogacara, and the two of them are some of the most visible practitioners who take Buddhism into the world of social engagement. And so I thought, well, I should follow their path and we'll find out what it is. And it's actually Yogacara is I'm excited by it because it's very practical and it's actually interrelated to the Avatamsaka Sutra, which is what we did, which is I mean, of course, it's practical because flowers falling out of the sky are infinitely practical. I mean, abundance and joy and this is very practice oriented. Uh, and maybe I'll just say because I was feeling it sitting here is Thich Nhat Hanh's half smile, which I'll confess. I mean, it's nice, but it always seemed a little cute to me. So I mean, I'm being but I thought, oh, it's like I got it. It's like, oh, if you sit and do a half smile, you can feel it. And you'll see that a lot of this is about you really study your diluted separate everything that comes out of separation, like, oh, what a dumb half smile. And then you actually sit in the center of it and it plants a seed of goodness. That's what we're doing. And that's so much what is always needed. But what's particularly needed in this time is each one of us keep planting. I was having a very quiet but very kind of sweet sitting, and I was thought, oh, making the little Jesus, they're little seeds, You can feel it when you go over to Sherry's or to the art center and you make a little Jizo. It feels like a seed of goodness. That's what little Jizos are. Um, so uh, Ben Connolly's A Practitioner's Guide Inside Vasubandhu's Yogacara. It's very practical. I'm going to be calling on that. I'm also Thich Nhat Hanh's Understanding Our Mind. He does the 20 and the 30 verses. We're just doing 30 verses, although you can't separate them out. Making Sense of Mind Only, Why Yogacara Buddhism Matters, William S. Waldron. It's a little more academic, but I'll be calling on that too. And then A Practitioner's Guide for Liberation, Ben Connolly, Vasubandhu's Three Natures. So there's lots of good help. So I'm going to do a brief review of what I did on Tuesday. And if you want more history, you can look at that talk. But here it is in a capsule. So Vasubandhu, 4th century India, one of the most revered teachers of Abhidharma. Abhidharma, as I confessed, Darlene got into teaching Abhidharma. I could never understand how she did that. Anyway, it's another thing I've avoided, but it's a system that analyzes early Buddhist teachings, and it's you categorize the process of consciousness, and it's very detailed and it's very complex, and you analyze your mind, and there's lots of lists, and it is so much not the way my mind works. So, which would probably be a good reason to stretch my mind to incorporate that too. So Vasubandhu was a noted expert in the Abhidharma. I mean, it was his thing. And I said this Tuesday is then he later became a devotee of Mahayana Buddhism. So that somehow he understood that Abhidharma didn't take it far enough, that the early Buddhist teachings gave you something, but that there was something that needed to be brought forward that was bigger and deeper and broader. And so he kind of like stepped down off. I mean, I don't know what happened, but it seems to me there's always something that I trust when somebody's like a noted authority and then they say, and wait a minute, I don't know. And like keeps wanting to explore beyond that. I mean, really, it's like this I shouldn't be getting off on, but the Buddha, my understanding is that the Buddha he practiced in a lot of different schools. And they all said, would you please become a teacher in this school? And he said no, because he didn't feel like it articulated a big enough view. He wanted to keep going. So there's something in that for all of us. It's like whatever you think you know, just keep asking what you don't know. I mean, in a really deep way. So Mahayana it moved from categorizing and lists, and then more and more the belief that if this was the list, then it must be true, and then it became a concept, and then I mean that's what we do. Mahayana then put the emphasis on Prajnaparamita teachings and the non-dualism. So there is the particular and there is the universal, and we need both because they're both true and both not true. But Mahayana took early Buddhism from a personal path of liberation to we are all in this together. And as you wake up, I wake up, and the whole world wakes up. And we're so profoundly interconnected that your lists are very, very nice and particular. But the Bodhisattva path is round and holographic, 360 degrees. So, Vasubandhu saw that there was a conflict, still exists to these days, judgment between the Theravada and the early Buddhism and Mahayana, that who was better, who was righter. I mean, that's why I also like it for these times. And he wanted to create something that allowed the two to come together in harmony so that they work together instead of fighting each other, which again, please, let's keep asking how we can do that. So he gave birth to Yogacara to show that the two weren't in conflict and that you could access both, and both were needed for profound transformation. It's no longer a distinct school, but it influences. It has a strong influence on Mahayana. It was central to the birth of Zen, Bodhidharma, the Lankavatara Sutra. It's in the early Buddhist texts. Vasubandhu is in our Zen lineage. So Vasubandhu was an important person, and I'm personally feeling grateful and kind of awed by him. Tibetans also study him. So it goes across the different schools, which I think is also really cool. The 30 verses that we're focusing on of consciousness only expresses the central themes of Yogacara. Yogacara means yoga practice. Yoga in its original sense meant joining together or uniting. And it especially emphasizes compassionate living and meditation practice. So the 30 verses uses a model of practice and understanding that you need both. You uh, can't just, you just can't practice for yourself. You can't just sit on your cushion and think you understand something. You need to stand up and you have to practice it. And you have to practice it in the world, not because you have to, but because it's a natural expression. It's like sit down, stand up, sit down, stand up. So the verses, and we're going to sort of be going through them. I mean, we'll go through them in order, but they're grouped in twos. The first 15 and then the 15 to 30. The first 15 is rooted in early Buddhism. Uh, and you study the function of consciousness. It's like, what is consciousness? What's going on in this thing that we think is in here? What do we think consciousness is, and how because there is, I'll do a little bit more of this, but we keep creating an I. It's like we're so sure I'm an I, but we also intuitively, which is the second half of what the verse is there's the particular and there's the absolute or the universal or interbe or interwoven. We know intuitively that it's not just me over here, but we so much need practice, ongoing practice to remind us of the oneness of everything, because we get triggered pretty fast. So the first part is we study our afflictions or the kleshas. We understand them, we practice with them so that we can more and more wake up in the middle of them. And so afflictive emotions are seen as the barrier to awakening, the barrier to goodness. To study your reactivity. This is such a great time to be alive. I mean, what better time could you ask for to have plenty of material to react to? I mean, I'm talking for myself. It's like, oh, no. What did they do? They can't be doing that. They, of course, there's they and whatever it is but there's a great, let me, maybe I can find this quickly because I wanted to read it before and then I untagged it because I had too many things to say, but I'm still going to have too many things to say. I still like it. So the second part, the second half is, okay, you're studying the afflictive emotions, what it is to be an I, this particular I. We've all got greed, hate, delusion, but we all do it in a particular way. Second part is it's called studying the nature of phenomena, and there's the three natures model, which will three natures. We'll get to that. Um, but it's all about it's rooted in the Mahayana. So the early is early Buddhism first, and the second is the Mahayana, and then the bridge of it is so the second part emphasizes, well, now that we've studied delusion, let's let go of it. Let's let go of the way over and over the way that we see things that creates alienation, that creates suffering, that creates a sense of separation. The feeling being the first noble truth there is suffering, that suffering arises because we see self and other and we believe it, which in woke cultures, there was a lot of language of othering. Who and what are we othering out there and in here? What if we affirm over and over a deep ground of wholeness and oneness and all, even as our perceptive processes keep trying to convince us that there's self and other. The great thing is, you'll see, and I'm going to read you a little bit in a minute too, is the system is set up in a way where you get to really pay attention to which seed you're watering and how much are we watering the seeds of separation, which is anger and fear and anxiety and all of those. And that as we more and more become awake to that, we can make the choice to water the seeds of goodness, as we can keep planting and watering seeds that are beneficial for ourselves and the whole world, which is what I felt. Oh, just he said, "Do I?" He grew up in a war zone. I mean, he was in a war zone. That it's like a half smile, which isn't like putting something on top of, but how do you walk through a zone of suffering, a samsaric world, and remember and affirm it's the ground. It's not what you think it is. There's something else that is that the isnness of everything. How do we, that's why I wear a rocket suit. That's why we do this. This is why we show up. This is why we do little acts of kindness, is to just keep affirming the world that already, it's like Suzuki Roshi, it's perfect just as it is, and it could use a little improvement. To affirm that it's perfect just as it is a real leap of faith that we also have a felt sense of. So the practices that are offered are be aware of the power of our cognitive and emotional habits. Don't judge yourself. Don't beat up on yourself. Just notice and be humbled by it. And sometimes it's even funny. And it's also sad. Oh my goodness, being a human being and the power of it. Two, practice mindfulness of body and of emotional states. Just keep noticing. And I actually like that some people say instead of mindfulness, heartfulness. It's like how do we meet greed, hate, and delusion just with a sense of tenderness, and it's like, oh. Three, also be aware of the interdependence of everything. Everything is flowing and moving and alive. And grounded in a practice, it's called a practice with no object, which is like breath practice. There's not something that you're reifying or something out there. Presence. How do you keep coming back to presence? And what is it? Okay, so the first two verses I'm going to touch a little bit. We did the first one a little bit on Tuesday. Self and other, the source of all of our suffering. Ben has translated with looks like a Chinese teacher and Thich Nhat Hanh did his own translations. I'll give you both. The one that Ben is everything conceived of self and others occurs in the transformation of consciousness. Thich Nhat Hanh says consciousness always includes subject and object. Self and other, inside, outside, are all creations of the conceptual mind. I'm actually sort of liking Thich Nhat Hanh's more as I go along, but it's helpful to have both. Self and other. Consciousness. Consciousness, it is its perception and its cognition of something. It's like that's how we become conscious, right? There's a perceiver and a perceived. So there can't be consciousness unless there's an object. It's always conscious of something. You can't have seeing without seeing, right? The sense that you can't have heard, it can't have hear without an object without a bird song. I mean, it's just by the nature of it. So when an eye contacts form and color, it's not enough to bring about sight or eye consciousness. Oh, wait a minute. Let me back up here. Let me go to Ben. I like what he has to say here. A brief investigation of our consciousness is likely to lead us to the idea that we have a consciousness that experiences things. Consciousness is the self, and the world around us is other. At the start of this work, Vasubandhu points towards another view. Everything conceived as self or other occurs in the transformation of consciousness. Neither the self nor the other is consciousness. They are merely conceptions occurring within a process of consciousness. So consciousness is, and the concept of self and other is something that happens in consciousness. What we do with it is choice and practice. Consciousness is an open field, but let me go on. The transformation of consciousness is a constant flow. Can you feel consciousness? Can you just be awake and aware right now of just what is consciousness? I mean, you're not dead. We're not asleep. There's consciousness. What we do with it matters. If you look at experience, there are not fixed elements or even moments. There is simply a process, a transformation. The first thing these verses give us is an opportunity to experience a sense of wonder about what we are experiencing right now. A sense that our most basic understanding of where and what we are in the world is not quite right. That we are instead involved in a mysterious, flowing unfolding. We get it, right? We have insights and moments where we just know it. It's just wondrous and it's mysterious. And we know there's something going on that's way bigger than we can cognize. This is from the 37 Practices of a Bodhisattva. It's Tibetan. Whatever arises in experience is your own mind. Popping up, popping up. Know that and don't generate self-other fixations. This is the practice of a bodhisattva. So it's constant. What is it? Is that true? I can remember always, and maybe you each in your I mean each in your own way, I'm sure, is I mean, as a kid, I remember thinking, what is dog consciousness? It's like, what does a dog? Because they clearly have dog consciousness, and they believe that's what's going on. And then I would think like our neighbor, their child was born severely, profoundly disabled. It's like, what's the world look like through that person's eyes? What's it look like through bird eyes? What's an insect consciousness? I mean, there's consciousness, right? But we all just get a little wrapped up in this meat consciousness that is we'll see, I mean, deeply rooted in causes and conditions that are personal and cultural and the great beyond. So bodhisattvas develop the capacity to, you can't get over, you can't do a spiritual bypass and pretend we don't have our own psychological, emotional conditioning. But bodhisattvas also simultaneously no sense there's like space between the words. It's like there's love between the words. There's something flowing between the words, over and under and in between the letters. And but then how do you live it and how do you keep waking up to it? Consciousness only puts forth the split between subject and object as the ultimate aspect of our consciousness we must see through if we want to realize our capacity to appear in the world in a purely kind and joyful way. Otherwise, it's a fear body because you could take something from me, or I better get that before you grab it, or I don't want to live from there, but it's there. But there's also cultivating another ground. As we will see at the end of the 30 verses, letting go of the sense that we are a self experiencing things is the way to enter this mysterious, flowing, unfolding, so that whatever is here that we might call ourselves is just a natural, generous, joyful, compassionate occurrence. The Buddha called himself Tathagata, or that which is coming and going. He described himself as merely a flowing occurrence. If you got into describing yourself as just a flowing occurrence. Oh, flowing occurrence just got up this morning. And the outward form that took was constant, calm, compassionate availability to people who came to him for help. Constant occurrence that just looked like a person that was constant, calm, compassionate, and available. I think that's why I practice. That's what I would like to be able to be in this world. And sometimes it's like it's a miracle. It's like, wow, flowing occurrence that I call Chris has moments where she's constant, calm, and available. And she also has lots of moments that are very self-centered and self-serving. It's like it's a swinging gate. The verses offer to us how to be both, either, neither, nor. Okay, so let me read you one other thing. Here we go. because it relates to the Avatamsaka Sutra. This is Thich Nhat Hanh. The teachings of the Avatamsaka Sutra, as we know, tell us that the infinitely small contains the infinitely large, and the infinitely large contain the infinitely small. If that is so, then the infinitely small has the same nature as the infinitely large. Like all these little small states of mind, they're not other than the all. The all is everything. It's just that we fixate on the small little things and think that's the whole world, right? Then you see a bug and it scares you and you step on it. An atom, a leaf, or a trail of vapor each carries within it all the information needed to understand the entire cosmos. Everything has all the information needed to understand the entire cosmos. When we discover the truth of an atom, we discover the truth of the whole universe. Study one thing, it will teach you about everything. Study a state of mind, anger, follow it all the way through. Study fear. Study your family history. Study history. Study the earth and the moon and the sun and the stars. It will teach you about everything. When we understand a single drop of water in the ocean, we understand the whole ocean. If we look deeply enough into a pebble, we can see the universe. In the one, you can identify the all. The one contains the all, but because of our tendency to think in terms of discrimination, we think our seeds of love and anger are separate. I want to know more. Do you want to know more? So we have a few minutes before we do service, which is a way that we bring the 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 many together into the one. We practice chanting and bowing and perceiver and perceived in the wholeness of just this, just bow, just chant. But why don't you turn to, let's just do twos. On Tuesday, we just talked about self and other. What if this time you talk about self and other and wholeness? Whatever comes up, self and other and wholeness, the three, whatever comes up around it. Okay, good enough. Just explore it. That's all. And I'll